Wake up, everybody. Welcome into Redacted on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
Welcome into the show. This is the show where we cover the stories that mainstream media largely ignores or sifting through a mountain of propaganda, which is exactly what the mainstream media is doing over the past 48 hours. So we're going to talk about President Trump doubling down on this commitment for peace in Ukraine. But the Russians are not happy with this new time frame. 50 days down to 10 days. You better get your act together to end this war. Russia says, no, we're going to operate on our own timeline. And former ex-president of Russia says this is pushing us closer to war with this sort of threats.
Absolutely. And are people in Gaza starving or not? We see not just the mainstream media, but influencers are saying they're fine. That's all war propaganda. You don't have to worry about this. President Trump saying you can't fake starvation. This is real. So what is real and what is not? I mean, you can feel, I think most of us feel really emotionally drained by this and devastated. Are we being manipulated or not? How do we even know? It feels like we're in a virtual system right now. So we're going to try and figure out what we can know for sure. Also, a new study saying that the COVID vaccine saved fewer lives. Now, obviously, you can tell I want to report this with an asterisk because these stories are always full of crap, basically. So stick with us, and we're going to look at that and how that's going to be thrown around about the vaccine saving lives. We're going to talk about it.
So let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you guys for subscribing to the show. We are live. We're on our sort of summer off on Mondays moment, but we'll be back. Don't worry about it after Labor Day. But right now, so thank you guys. We're live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you guys. So we're going to get to all of your news updates here in a moment. We've got some great guests joining us here in moments. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Connect Invest, because is your money working for you? Well, investing in real estate has never been easier. In fact, my mother-in-law just called me. Did you know your mom called me a few hours ago?
She told me she was going to.
And she said, she's like, I'm going to do this. She's like, I've got money sitting there right now. It's earning no interest at all. And I want to start earning 9% returns. And I said, well, that's exactly what I'm doing. And here's how it works right now. Savings accounts and CDs offer low returns, barely keeping up with inflation. The stock market, volatile, unpredictable. One day you're up, one day you're down. Now you can invest in real estate short notes with as little as $500. And my son, who has an account set up now, he has $500 in savings. This is one of the things that he's going to start investing in. You can do it for up to 9% returns. Yes. And for as little as $500, you can start earning fixed monthly returns by investing in short notes. Okay, you can choose the 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. It's kind of like a CD in that way. And then you can pull your money out and reinvest it however you want. 9% returns right now. Join thousands of investors who are growing their wealth investing in real estate short notes. Just go to redacted.inc/invest. And if you sign up, you get a $50 bonus right inside of your account. Yes, redacted.inc/invest and get up to a $50 bonus right in your account. All right, let's get to the news, shall we? Russia says what Trump is doing is a major step towards war. So what exactly is President Trump doing right now? Well, he just shortened that 50-day deadline to end the war in Ukraine down to 10 days. Or else, he says. Ex-Russian President Medvedev just posted on social media this morning, Trump's playing the ultimatum game with Russia. 50 days or 10. He should remember two things. Number one, Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. Ouch. Number two, each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road.
Ooh.
Ouch.
A little biting there.
Yeah, and warmonger Senator Lindsey Graham, who would love nothing more for us to go into World War III, because he makes so much money from the military-industrial complex in South Carolina. The creepy senator posted this a short time ago this morning, said, to those in Russia who believe that President Trump is not serious about ending the bloodbath between Russia and Ukraine, you and your customers will soon be sadly mistaken. You will also soon see that Joe Biden is no longer president. Get to the peace table. Look at the bottom there. So Medvedev responds. He says, look, it's not for you or Trump to dictate when to get at the peace table. Negotiations will end when all of the objectives of our military operation have been achieved. Work on America first, Gramps. So just for some context here, 2 weeks ago, President Trump issued an ultimatum to Russia to agree to a ceasefire within 50 days. That was what it was a few weeks ago. Or face secondary sanctions of up to 100% tariffs on Russian oil buyers, Well, now it seems that he's run thin on patience, and Trump is like done with this. Remember, he told us this war was going to end like within 24 hours or so of him becoming president of the United States, right? So, didn't happen. And he said, I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 to 12 days from today, he told reporters standing next to Keir Starmer. He said, I'll probably announce it tonight or tomorrow, but there's no reason to wait, he says, if you know what the answer already is. So the sanctions Trump is demanding would hit both India and China, two major trading partners that he hopes to strike deals with separately. So maybe this is like a bargaining chip with India. This is a bargaining chip with China. And it would also risk blowback that could undercut his own economic agenda. Because now, if all of these countries are really moving more closely to China, they're going to stop doing LNG deals with the United States. This is a big mistake. This could potentially be a big mistake for the United States. So in one respect, I will say this is good news that President Trump, what he's doing here. I support the idea of peace. After years of Biden like pouring fuel on the fire in Eastern Europe.
Yes, but Clayton, you can't support the idea of peace while arming one side.
Right.
So that falls flat when he's saying, I would like this peace negotiation, like Scott Horton continues to say, or Trump said, let's let them fight it out. You got to just let them fight it out like siblings sometimes. When our siblings fight, we don't go and say, which one should I give a bat to?
Right. Here's a gun.
That's not how that works.
Exactly. So, and that's the idea here is like, let them deal with this themselves. This is not our involvement. We should not be involving ourselves in the Middle East. We should not be involving ourselves here.
But our money precludes Ukraine from a serious peace negotiation. Ukraine doesn't have to actually go to peace if we continue to send the weapons, which we are, which J.D. Vance confirmed just weeks ago that we would continue to do, even though we are scaling it back. So you can say all kinds of bullcrap, but as long as you're still sending weapons and aid, that falls flat. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's exactly what I was going to say here, which is if you want to have the power of restraint, that means you literally pull back. You're not going to be sending Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. You're not going to be rearming them or doing it through proxies, which is what Trump is doing right now. Like, the EU is going to buy all of these arms off of us, and we'll just ship them to the EU, and then Germany will send them to Ukraine. See how that works? And then we will enrich the military-industrial complex in the United States of America. But don't worry, the EU is buying it, and we're creating jobs in the United States.
But there's a fundamental lack of reality being shown on behalf of the presidency, because when he was running for office, he was very clear about the fact that our weapons and aid was being stolen in Ukraine. Now he seems to have somehow forgotten that. And over the weekend, when speaking of aid to Gaza, he said, well, Hamas takes a lot of it. It gets stolen, which again lacks a serious understanding that most of our aid to Ukraine gets stolen. We've known that since the beginning of the war. It's verifiable. So all of a sudden we care about those things. This is not the honest platform that he was campaigning on. This is now political doublespeak, and it's really disappointing. We have to admit this.
Oh, it's very disappointing. And again, Russia's not going to kowtow to Washington on sanctions, which have done nothing to hurt their economy. In fact, they've brought them closer to the BRICS nations and have actually driven up, created massive inflation in the United States. It's caused massive turmoil throughout Europe. So we really care about Europe also in this. We're actually going to be driving, Germany's economy into the toilet even further with these types of sanctions and moves. So anyway, we'll keep our eye on what happens over the next 48 hours in Ukraine.
Well, I just want to know, because clearly he has an understanding of this. He said many times on the campaign trail, if we stop sending aid to Ukraine, they have to go to the peace table. And yet it keeps happening under his watch. So what are the forces in place that preclude him from keeping that promise and acting on that understanding that we know he has? That's my question. That's where it is.
Good question. Now let's see if you guys can answer that in the comments. Well, here's a photo of the mass shooter that opened fire in New York City, gunning down NYPD officers and civilians. This surveillance photo was released almost immediately by the NYPD. You can see him holding the gun there in his hand, walking across that plaza. See the mustache, the sunglasses, all of it. And then the ID badge they released a short time later. His name, Shane Tamora. Of course, it was pretty obvious to anyone watching, like who this guy was, what he looked like, but not to CNN, which was describing the shooter as possibly white. Watch.
Scene. Showing you here, John's reporting that they do know what he looks like. Male, possibly white, mustache, sunglasses in that building, isolated to, they believe, to various locations, including upper floors is where they're focused. What are you learning, Shimon?
Yeah, so possibly white. CNN doubling down throughout the hours that this was breaking, despite the evidence that was released by the NYPD and social media, which clearly had surveillance photos that they were sharing out all over social media. This is, again, why no one trusts the legacy media at all. Certainly no one's watching CNN, but even their expert guests. Yeah, this guy's definitely, possibly white guy, because it's a mass shooting. Clearly it has to be a white guy. We can't show that it might be a black person. Watch.
Who he is?
They do not know who he is. They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. He appears to have a mustache. And that picture has been distributed to every police officer in New York City, particularly has been sent to the phones of the search teams inside that building, because whenever they encounter a group of people, the first thing they have to figure out is that individual among these people hiding among victims or pretending to be an office worker? Because one thing you don't want to have.
But possibly white, and there's the photo, of course.
Or in his case, all he'd have to do is pretend to be black, I guess.
Right.
Right.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, maybe this is CNN's like last ditch effort to save their channel is becoming comedy shows. Like they're gonna try to compete with like Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Comedy Central now.
I mean, I wonder how thick those spectacles were that guy was wearing, and why didn't they correct him and say, sir?
No, because they were all in on it.
Not what you're looking at.
Because even Aaron Burnett and other anchors at CNN were like, yeah, possibly white, possibly, look at this photo, possibly white guy, clearly. I love Alex Jones' take on this.
Can you identify as white in their
Well, exactly.
mind?
This is Alex Jones's joke here, which is take a look, which is CNN is still the undefeated world champion of lies. CNN lies so much even Satan has to blush. CNN, the most trusted name in news. White suspect, Maryland dad, fell on stage. Yeah, remember when Trump got shot and he fell on stage? That was their headline. And then Biden, sharp as a tack, which of course is what, Jake Tapper had to say. And then here, I love this, a CNN action figure that was just released. CNN just released their new white male action figure. Identify as white. There you go. All right.
All right. Do you want me to do this one? Sure, I will. Okay. Well, fluoride tablets for babies are suddenly flying off the shelves. Fluoride for babies, which you can readily get prescriptions if you live in New Jersey from your pediatrician. Why? Because more and more cities are shutting down water fluoridation programs after RFK Jr. fulfilled his promise and recommended that it be removed from drinking water because it has been shown to be a neurotoxin, because there has never been shown to be any benefit of ingesting fluoride, because when fluoride is made through industrial processes, it has to be thrown away as toxic waste, but somehow we've been drinking it in our water. So here's the twist. Now, the FDA says these fluoride pills that people are worried about hoarding because it won't be in their water. Why would you do this? Why would you do this without looking up the actual benefit to your baby of fluoride? And in fact, if you read the book, The Fluoride Lobby, it shows that giving babies fluoride can lead to, what do they call them? Fluoridated stains on their teeth while they're in utero. So anyway, the FDA is saying that these pills that people are hoarding were never even approved for infants in the first place. No trials. No safety data, yet pediatricians and dentists have been handing them out for years. Literally every time in New Jersey I would take my kids for their checkups, I would get a prescription for fluoride, and I would be like, thank you, and I would throw that in the trash. Meanwhile, the FDA has finally stepped in and announced it would move to ban the tablets, but people still hoard them, citing concerns of neurotoxicity, thyroid disruption, lower IQ. All of these things have been proven in a court of law. That's coming directly from the agency that's now reviewing decades of unchecked fluoride exposure. Now, in July 23rd hearings, that turned into a war zone between dental associations and free health advocates. Dentists argued that we're going to see a massive spike in tooth decay if these fluoride supplements disappear. But critics point to mounting research suggesting that supplements were never safe to begin with, especially for developing brains. To which, and again, read the book, The Fluoride Lobby. We know that dentists have ruined careers of people who have been trying to say this since at least the 40s. So the FDA is expected to finalize its decision by October 31st. If the ban goes through, fluoride pills for children under 6 could be pulled from the market entirely.
All right. Well, you can't make this up. Guys, you know who Sydney Sweeney is, right? You guys have an idea of who Sydney Sweeney is? Well, her new ad campaign for American Eagle jeans is being labeled by liberal fatties as Nazi propaganda and the mainstream media as a return to whiteness. It's a return to whiteness to put Sydney Sweeney in an ad promoting some sort of clothing. Who could have seen this coming? Take a look at this video of Sydney Sweeney. It's called Sydney Sweeney Has Great Jeans from American Eagle. This is the new American Eagle ad called Sydney Sweeney Has Great Jeans. Get it? A play on jeans? Here's the ad.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Well, just to,
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle.
Really elucidate the point, I want to show you just another version of the ad just so we can really make the point. Here's another version of the ad. Watch.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
So it's literally a ripoff of a Calvin Klein ad from 1980. Brooke Shields did that ad in 1980. And here you can see her. And here was the actual video. Back, when heterosexuality was embraced, not destroyed by liberals. Watch.
The secret of life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. Occasionally, certain conditions produce a structural change in the gene, which will bring about the process of evolution.
Well, liberal TikTokers are calling for the Sydney Sweeney videos to be banned, the ads to be banned, and they're calling them Nazi propaganda. And liberals on Blue Sky calling for boycotts. Here you go, Blue Sky. Used to always buy American Eagle. Not anymore. Not shopping at American Eagle anymore, Jordan says. You could have chosen anyone else. Bye-bye, American Eagle. Time to buy jeans from somewhere else. Here's just a sampling of how TikTokers are melting down, calling this Nazi propaganda and a promotion of transhumanism. I don't know what. Watch.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda. Wow. I thought it was going to be kind of bad. That's going to be in history book.
I will be the friend that's too woke because those Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads are weird. Fascist weird. Nazi propaganda weird. Would we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. That is Nazi propaganda.
If you haven't fully comprehended how bad it is, I need you to open your fucking eyeballs and listen. This is Nazi shit. Pure Nazi shit. Saying that a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl has good genes is Nazi shit. Saying anybody has...
So is she supposed to not be proud of having blonde hair and blue eyes?
No, that's Nazi.
And
that's Nazi.
You might see it with your own eyes, but if she says she has it... She doesn't even say, I'm blessed with it, or she says good genes. Okay. But
it's about the genes. It's a play on words.
It's a double entendre, dummy.
Yeah, am I the only one that's missing that it could just be, she could be talking about the jeans that she is wearing?
Exactly. Yes. The name of the ad is spelled with a J, not a G.
Yes. But even saying, I have blonde hair and blue eyes and I like it, is hateful to them.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, she can be proud of the way she looks, which obviously she's made a lot of money on. She should like what she, and that's a liberal tenet, to like what you see in the mirror. You're supposed to like what you see, even if you're 800 pounds. Liberals want you to like what you see, unless you are fit and beautiful, and then they don't want you to like what you see.
Or this black woman crying in tears this morning, saying that this will lead to black women being hung. Yes, like as in lynched and hung. Watch.
Yep, that got me too. And I don't know why. Maybe because it's just so blatant. I keep thinking that people just are not gonna believe us until we're hung out there, but then even then I feel like they'll be like, oh no. Kind of like they are with
So tough, right? Even MSNBC in on it, of course, news media as well. Sydney Sweeney's ad shows an unbridled cultural shift towards whiteness. Advertisements are always mirrors of society, and sometimes what they reflect is ugly and startling. MSNBC. Here's another news publication today. How American Eagle's Sydney Sweeney Good Genes ad went wrong. Did it? Because American Eagle stock has now surged up to 17% in the 5 days since the ad's debut. Sales are surging. An advertisement is doing exactly what it's intended to do, and it's not surging because of Nazis. Here's Robbie Soav, who wrote this. Sydney Sweeney is doing fascist propaganda. And if you like her, you're a fascist too. Is quite possibly the stupidest, most likely to backfire liberal overreach social media pile-on in the history of the internet. Good for you, Robbie. It was spot on, exactly.
My daughter saw this ad. She did not know anything about the politics, and she likes the idea because wide-legged jeans are back in. So she is right now at the mall thinking that she might try them on.
Yeah.
So she doesn't understand that this is Nazi propaganda. It kind of doesn't hit her unless a liberal woman is there to explain it to her.
I mean, I spent the morning, watching a lot of ads.
You had to.
I was doing a lot of research on this, but I was specifically going back and looking at so many 1980s ads that I remember from my childhood. And like, you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's like Juicy Fruit. Remember that? Like all like pop it in your mouth. It was like, I guess that's Nazi propaganda. Like all the commercials we grew up with in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Nazi propaganda.
Let me know if you remember bongo jeans. Like literally we wore those to make our butts look like this on purpose. Bongo ladies, if you remember your bongo jeans, this was a thing.
I'd like to see some bongos. And by the way, you even mentioned you were thinking about buying the jeans after you saw that.
I'm a little stocky for this widely. I might try them on. We'll see. They look very comfortable.
You're 5'4". But
yeah. All right. We're going to talk about whether or not the starvation in Gaza is propaganda or not. Speaking of propaganda, so let's just go ahead and do that because we have a guest and we want to get right to that. So here we go. Starving kids in Gaza, that is war propaganda, according to pro-Israel influencers. It's not real. You can all just stop worrying about this, they say. And look, I would love to. The idea of Palestinians being tortured into starvation is a constant assault on our psyche. Wouldn't it be great just to tell yourself, this is fine, and ignore it? And of course, here at Redacted, we're no stranger to propaganda. That's kind of our business. Our bread and butter is decoding propaganda. So is this starvation stuff just propaganda from Hamas? Well, that's what the Free Press says. They say, look, this image of starving children is propaganda. They base it on this image of this little boy, which surely you've seen in your feed. His name is Muhammad. They say this is not an indication of starvation for a couple of reasons. One, that boy has cerebral palsy and other genetic disorders. They say that, look at his mom and brother. They're not skinny like that. So clearly, this doesn't mean that there's starvation. They're saying, they're fine. This boy just has a disease. So, but what they don't tell us is because he has a disease, can he access medicine? Because aid means medicine too. Can he get the treatment he needs? Is the hospitals he's used to attending, are they still standing? President Trump acknowledged that people in Gaza are starving. He said that there are barriers to aid put up by whoever. He can't say who put those barriers up. He just says whoever. But he says the starvation is not fake. Watch.
Going to be working with the United States. We'll be helping with the food. You know, we have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves, and we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You know, you've seen the areas where they actually have food, and the people are screaming for the food, and they're 35, 40 yards away, and they won't let them because they have lines that are set up, and whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that.
Okay, you can't fake it, he says. Okay, so he's saying it's not propaganda, even though pro-Israel influencers are saying it is. Now, he knows who put the barriers up. He absolutely knows because the United States worked with Israel in order to set up this aid. Here's the Wall Street Journal talking about the barriers set up by Israel through the Gaza Health Foundation. They kicked out the United Nations because they said that they were aligned with Hamas. Now, Israel and the United States have set up these barriers, these aid stations, all four of them, in all of Gaza. Even the Wall Street Journal says you never know when they're going to be open. They don't announce it. There's no reliable times. They say they'll open more. They don't say when. And when they are open, the IDF has fully admitted to firing machine guns and artillery into civilian crowds. Here they say, you know, we fire these rifles and machine guns into the crowd. They said, you know, we try to not kill them, but if we do, we try and learn from the incident to reduce harm. Sometimes we kill them. And a quick reminder of why they have to distribute food aid. Because Israel began the war after October 7th by systematically dismantling the food systems in Gaza. This, too, is not conspiracy. This is a report from Israeli soldiers called Breaking the Silence. It's about the perimeter. It details the grunt work of destroying agriculture, farms, livestock, and all food factories at the start of the war. They could feed themselves before this, but they can't now. Now, journalist Glenn Greenwald reports that they even don't let people fish, even though Gaza is on the sea, that the IDF will shoot at people if they go and try and get some fish to eat. So even if we put the images aside as propaganda, we do still have proof of forced starvation, purposeful, because the food systems were dismantled. Now European leaders are saying, okay, this is enough to watch. We're now going to recognize the state of Palestine. France did this last week. They were the first in Europe. And now UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is saying that he is poised to do the same. Watch.
So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the state of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace.
Why unless, do you think? Like, the two-state solution has long since been the diplomatic philosophy of the United States in Europe. And in fact, the United States has long since supported this. But this week, the United Nations is having a meeting explicitly to explore the two-state solution. And the United States is saying we're boycotting it. We're not going to go because it's what they call a publicity stunt. So what are we supposed to make of this? The two-state solution is our literal diplomatic philosophy, but we won't go. Well, joining us to discuss this is Max Blumenthal. He is the editor at The Gray Zone and someone who's been speaking out about this for a long time before it was hip. So, Max, given what I just said, that we're being told, no, this is propaganda, is there any way that this is propaganda and we can just abscond ourselves from it?
Well, propaganda is a neutral term. Everything's propaganda. I mean, you can call me a propagandist. The question is it true? And it's about time we got some propaganda about the genocide that's been going on in Gaza for over 21 months. Now the American public is starting to wake up to the reality because it is dramatized in a way that kind of meshes with their understanding of humanitarian crises, and that the weakest people in Gaza, who could in no way be considered militants, are emaciated, and they're witnessing the worst images they've ever seen in their lives. And so the Israeli response is propaganda of their own. and it's propaganda that's very revealing about their own intentions. I mean, the intention, let's just say this is propaganda. The intention behind it is to enact a ceasefire and end human suffering. The intention behind the Israeli propaganda is to continue the military assault, annexation, and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And there is a final solution at play here. And starvation is a weapon being used to consolidate Israel's ultimate ethno-supremacist plan in Gaza. So first, the Israeli propaganda with these emaciated children. They say that they do not have good genes. Unlike Sydney Sweeney, these children, they don't have good genes. Okay, let's say they have genetic disorders, or they have cerebral palsy, or some kind of treatable but not curable disease from birth. These are the first kinds of people in any humanitarian crisis who die, and they are the ultimate predictors of famine. And what the Israelis are saying is these are the Untermenschen, and they essentially deserve to die, and we should not be concerned with them at all. That's what they're saying. And so disregard these images, which are telling us that a famine is taking place in which it's not only food, it's also sanitation. All the sanitation systems have been destroyed. The water treatment plants have been deliberately attacked and destroyed by Israel. People's plumbing is gone, and they're living in tents. Where can you go to the bathroom there without transmissible disease? There is thirst, and there is a lack of medicine. Israel, for the last 6 to 8 weeks, has been keeping baby formula out of Gaza. So you see the sickest children are on the verge of death or are dying. The next stage is the poorest, and they are losing weight massively. And then you have to ask yourself, why would so many people, thousands and thousands of men, mostly young men, every day, risk their lives going across a war zone, getting attacked by Israeli quadricopters, drones, tanks, soldiers sniping at them, in order to reach one of these Gaza Humanitarian Foundation hubs just to get a box of food, what Trump says is good, strong food. And the reality is they're hungry. Even the Zionist propagandists that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this fake Israeli-U.S. Trump-aligned fake aid group, even the propagandists they're bringing to their aid sites in Gaza are admitting that people coming there are very hungry. And I can talk about why they're hungry and how this is part of a much larger plan, which mirrors the plan of Nazi Germany to ethnically cleanse the Untermenschen from Europe.
Propaganda seems to be working, because even in our chat room right now, they're saying, well, Max, talk about Hamas. Hamas has been digging up all the water pipes, turning them into missiles. These are all Hamas. So these are not, I just see it over and over again. Anytime we do a story like this, you'll always get a few people in the, comments that are like, it's all Hamas. It's all Hamas. These are all Hamas people that are there starving. What do you say to that? Can you answer that maybe once and for all?
I mean, Israeli officials, like a raft of Israeli officials, have confirmed to the New York Times that Hamas was not stealing aid. Reuters has just done a report on how Hamas was not stealing the aid. Under the Biden administration, there were directives in which Israel was given the green light to attack Hamas police and kill Hamas municipal workers, meaning anyone affiliated with the government of Gaza who were protecting the aid. And the point was to destroy the UN aid system, in which there were 400 aid hubs throughout Gaza, because they didn't want people to be able to stay in northern Gaza, and because the UN, UNRWA specifically, was tending to a population of refugees, and Israel seeks to negate them as refugees and eliminate the Palestinian nation and the Palestinian struggle. So you attack the main international body that's providing them with schooling, with housing, with food as an institution, erase it from Gaza. And then who have they brought in? They have brought in a guy named Yasser Abu Shabab, who is from a Bedouin clan of notorious drug traffickers and smugglers. And if you just do a simple search on the name Yasser Abu Shabab, and you will see that he is one of the most notorious thieves of aid, along with his clan, which has even been denounced by his own, his little gang has been denounced by his own family because of his theft of aid and selling it on the black market. He is working directly hand in glove with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. He is being protected by the Israeli military in Western Rafah next to one of their hubs. And he basically is the hired muscle for this criminal operation, which has eliminated the UN and seeks to enact regime change and put an ISIS-aligned drug smuggler in charge of the Gaza Strip under the watch of Israel, the same way they did in Syria, where they put an al-Qaeda-aligned goon in charge of the country in order to basically stand down in the face of U.S.-Israeli empire. The same project is at play in Gaza, and he was just given space. It's not like he wrote it. A PR firm was hired to write an op-ed for Yasser Abu Shabab in the Wall Street Journal on behalf of this criminal humanitarian sham. I mean, just imagine that. Like an ISIS smuggler penned an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. There's no way you or I could get an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. But if we were doing,
if you're Jolani in Syria, you could probably get one. Yeah.
Jolani, any ISIS or Al-Qaeda thug who agrees to work with Israel can get space in the Wall Street Journal.
Amazing. Now, you posted this not too long ago about the CNN clip showing that Americans are just not having it. They do not support Israel in this war any longer the way they once did. They do not support Netanyahu. They absolutely don't want to see this continue to go on. We are upset about watching people, like the idea that families are starving because we're humans. And you say that Israel's running out of Hasbara tricks. For people who don't know, that's their sort of way to mansplain, for lack of a better term. It's like mansplaining on behalf of the idea for the Israeli government. You say a serious reckoning, though, is coming for Israel. What do you think that means? Because it feels to me like they're just going to keep getting to do what they want to do. So what do you think that reckoning would look like?
Yeah, they'll probably be able to keep doing what they want to do. But that's going to create or contribute to the political crisis that we're witnessing in our own country. One that I really welcome because it highlights the contradictions in our supposed liberal democracy. Now, first of all, that tweet that you mentioned was me just tweeting a clip of a CNN pollster explaining that Netanyahu's approval rating in the U.S. among young people is like barely at double digits. Like he's almost comprehensively hated by everyone under 35, and the general public widely disapproves of Netanyahu. This is someone who's brought to Congress and cheered on like he's our real leader. He gets more standing ovations when he comes to Congress than any U.S. president by both parties. And it just feels like he's in charge. But if you ask the average American person, they're disgusted with what they're seeing because the corporate and mainstream media is finally showing them what Israel has been doing for over 660 days. I mean, Israeli propagandists are denying that some emaciated child is really sick. Well, what about the hundreds of children who they've sniped in the head and had doctors come back from Gaza with X-ray images, brain scans showing bullets in their heads? They try to deny everything, and the media is finally showing it. You see celebrities speaking out like never before. It's sort of entering the conscience of normie American society for the first time, and there's no one else to blame but Netanyahu. But as long as they keep the aid going, the military aid flowing, and Donald Trump calls for Gaza to be cleaned out, his own approval rating is collapsing among young people too. We're going to see a clash in the political sphere between what the American voter wants, and especially younger people, and the subjects of Netanyahu's ethno-supremacist bribery network known as AIPAC in the country. And they're going to have to repress us more. They're going to have to censor us more. They're going to have to criminalize us more if we try to push back. And we just saw what happened at Columbia University, where the Trump administration threatening to pull $400 billion of federal funds from Columbia, which mostly would go to like advanced research. Colombia has agreed to pay $21 million to some of the most privileged members of our society, some of the most privileged people in human history. They're Jewish professors and staffers who claim that they were hurt and attacked because students protested against genocide. And the names of those Jewish professors and staffers is being kept secret, so we can't scrutinize whether they're making up hate crimes and inventing their psychological oppression. I mean, this is like wokeism on steroids. It's DEI to the extreme, and it's the Trump administration doing it on behalf of a foreign apartheid state. And everybody can see that, and it's causing disruptions on the left, where you see New Yorkers voting for Mamdani for mayor. And it's happening on the right, where Marjorie Taylor Greene has become the first Republican member of Congress to call what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide. And she's doing it 2 years after she led the charge to censor Rashida Tlaib for doing the same. So things are changing on the right and the left.
I want to get your take before I let you go, Max, which is on the Palestinian, the idea of a Palestinian state. You're hearing from the French government on that. Keir Starmer saying September, we're going to come out, support full Palestinian state unless the starving ends. So the starving may wrap up and that will end. But of course, we're never going to get to September. Do you believe we'll ever get to September where you're going to see Europe put a stamp of approval on a Palestinian state?
Obviously, Israel doesn't want this because Israel wants to negate the existence of Palestinians as a national group, and they're condemning this. But this is also empty rhetoric, and it's kicking the can down the road. What needs to be done is to end military aid to Israel and end foreign investment in Israel in order to force an end to the killing. And neither Keir Starmer, who's directing spy flights over Gaza, sharing intelligence with the Israeli Air Force from a British military base in Cyprus, or Emmanuel Macron, who has supplied Israel with bundles of offensive weaponry, neither of them are doing anything material to stop this. So this is, more rhetoric in the failed international realm. At the same time, Netanyahu is just charging ahead with a final solution. And I didn't really address this before, but it needs to be emphasized. The reason that the one main Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid hub is in the south of Gaza, and the reason that starvation has been imposed, one of the main reasons, is to lure as many people to the south as possible because it's near Egypt. And Israel aims to ethnically cleanse the population out of Egypt. And first, what it will do, as its defense minister, Israel Katz, has explicitly announced, is place 500,000 people, everyone in the south, in a concentration camp. And the only way they can leave is through Egypt. Israel has explicitly laid out plans for a concentration camp. The final solution is taking place before our eyes. This is the crime of the century, and we're witnessing it in a way we've never witnessed any atrocity or human rights crime before.
Hopefully we're breaking through the willful ignorance. You're right. And what's going to happen in Rafah and the money that's flowing into Egypt right now, and all of these people that are making so much money off of the construction of these concentration camps. There's lots of billions floating right now into these Egyptian land builders and construction contractors there. So,
and testing new technologies on this population that will be exported. And hey, if we get a little bit uppity, they might try it on us.
Right. They already are.
Right.
The biosurveillance state. Max Blumenthal, read The Gray Zone. If you want the truth, unfettered truth, our friend Max and the team over at The Gray Zone do an amazing job. Thank you, Max.
Thanks a lot, guys. Good seeing you.
Great to see you.
All right, Clayton. Well, I'm going to mark myself safe from believing that this is propaganda. I'm pretty sure it's real. People are hurting. But again, for us, the mainstream media is just waking up to this. We are not. We've been covering the torture of these people since before October 7th. So, if your history books begin on October 7th, you might have one way to think about it. But the mainstream media has been conflicted about the way it covers the Palestinians for decades, right? We saw that by the murder of Shireen Abu Akleh, how she was murdered, a Palestinian journalist murdered by the IDF, and the mainstream media said, we don't know what to do with this. What do we do with this? Because they kill journalists, right? So way to catch up, mainstream media, but at least they are not on the side of it's propaganda. It is mostly the, I would call them conservative influencers. Who would you say is saying that starving children is war propaganda? It's right-wing influencers, Charlie Kirk and the likes. Like,
I didn't see. Did he say it was right-wing? I don't think Charlie Kirk was.
Maybe not Charlie Kirk.
I don't want to name people
apologize.
without just randomly saying people's names.
Okay, I'm taking that back. I thought that it was anyhow.
I mean, Charlie Kirk was just on Tucker's show the other day
right-wing,
doing a deep dive about and even talked about this. So I don't think it was him. But
I take it back. Don't come for me. Let's call them right-wing influencers who were saying this the most.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it's the people that came out of nowhere and suddenly have social media follow. I mean, I don't know, to be honest with you, because I haven't looked into who exactly is saying it, so I don't want to speak out of turn on that.
Okay, let me just. I marked it in the newsletter today. Yeah, Charlie Kirk. No, Israel is not starving Gazans. That's what he says. That it's not true.
Oh, okay.
And
I guess all these starving kids. It's
I
all
did watch his
propaganda.
piece, and he says because the United Nations has all this food that can't get through. But again, it's because Israel has said that we will not allow the United Nations, and the United States has verified or validated, not verified, has validated that the United Nations cannot get in. So again,
Juan Horn in our chat says Laura Loomer said it. Well, of
Laura
course,
Loomer, yes.
Of course, she'll say. She'll do
okay.
anything.
Again, we're not here to
Shapiro.
name names, but we're here to name who are the power centers who are saying that, and it does seem to be conservative right. And I'm not even going to call them far left or extremists. They just seem to be conservative influencers saying this. And I watched this piece from Charlie Kirk, and I would very much love to believe that so that I could put that aside and go on with my day. Yeah. But they're not proving a negative, which is something that Philip always likes to say. They're not proving that it's not happening.
Right.
So, anyhow.
Douglas Dauntless really wants us to focus on the hostages. Do a story on he loves the IDF, and he was one of the people saying you guys are buying Hamas propaganda.
We have had Israelis on here. We have shown you that the families of the hostages are up to here with this because clearly the Netanyahu government doesn't care about the hostages.
We have done hostage
October
stories.
7th, the original offer from Hamas was all for all. So it was Israel that had 4,000 prisoners, women and children, that Hamas wanted back in exchange for those hostages. Israel said no. So don't pretend to me that Israel cares about those hostages. You can go F yourself.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, we're supposed to. Okay.
I'm just waiting on you. So you
That's
tell
it.
me what's going on next.
I am going to tell you that we're going to talk about coming up. Massacre of Catholics in Congo. This story has been severely underreported. Why are people being killed at a midnight mass? Why are children being taken as slaves? We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, Clayton will tell us about our friends over at Brightcore Nutrition.
Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, our bodies are under attack, and not just from the air we breathe or the food we eat. We're being exposed to mRNA technology injected into our food supplies, spreading through shedding, now 5G radiation, saturating our environments with frequencies we still don't fully understand. These threats disrupt our biology at a cellular level, weakening immunity, inflaming our systems, damaging our gut, the control center of our health. That's why we take Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition. They're fantastic. Each capsule is packed with over 900 strains of probiotics, live enzymes, and antioxidants to flush out the toxins in your body, rebuild gut balance, and fortify your immune system against the daily assault. A stronger gut means better resistance. And right now you can get 25% off by using the code REDACTED. If you go to mybrightcore.com/redacted, use the code REDACTED when you go to mybrightcore.com/redacted, or for the best deal, call them. If you call them, you get 50% off and free shipping, even a free bottle of vitamin D3 with your order. Call 888-404-6312 to get up to 50% off and free shipping for their best deal yet. Detox your body, rebuild your gut, take your health into your own hands starting today. Our thanks to Brightcore.
Well, nearly 40 people were killed in a midnight attack at a Catholic church in Congo over the weekend, one of the deadliest attacks in Congo in recent history, but part of a broader pattern of attacks on Christians across Africa and the Middle East. The images are horrifying. The Islamic State-affiliated militants from the Allied Democratic Forces, the ADF, claimed responsibility for this town. It's a horrifying story. Gunmen stormed the church during a worship service, opened fire, and attacked with machetes. Survivors say the attackers also burned homes, looted property, and abducted villagers as they fled. So children are still missing because of this. AJ Hurley is a national speaker, activist, and leader in the pro-life movement. He joins us to discuss this today. Maybe we'll start broad with this broader rise in violence on Christians in the Middle East and Africa. So what's your take on that to begin with?
Well, thanks, guys, so much for having me. Those that know me, I am a national pro-life activist. I work for the White Rose Resistance. You know, we're talking about a contentious issue today, which shouldn't really be, but I just wanted to say that, you know, most of these views are my own and not necessarily reflective of my organization. However, I think it's safe to say that Christians everywhere, any threat to children, innocent children everywhere, should concern Christians everywhere. And so, you know, the fact that children are dying in Congo, the fact that Christians are dying in Congo, in places like Syria, places like Gaza in the Middle East, you know, we should be willing to put all of our partisan politics aside and just be members of humanity for a second and decry violence against innocent human beings, especially defenseless children. And so I can't call myself to be pro-life and not valiantly, I guess, speak out against the type of violence maybe connected to our foreign policy. Is it even worth suggesting or even questioning, is our foreign policy connected to this at all? And should we think about those things?
So when you see the media response, it seems like it's overwhelming. I'm just stunned. I turn on CNN, Fox News, all of the different media outlets. They're just covering this wall to wall. The outrage is palpable from our national media. Of course, I'm joking. There's no outrage. There's almost no discussion whatsoever about it. I mean, why do you think that is?
Well, obviously, we have been very much. I mean, it's not a surprise. It's not even debatable that we're connected to this by proxy. You know, a lot of this has to do with ripple effects from our foreign policy in the Middle East, in Iran, and right after, I'm a Eastern Christian, and one of our side of our churches is connected to this church in Damascus. St. Elias in Damascus is a sister church of ours. And 22 people killed just in the weeks after our intervention in Iran. And so I think it's worth considering, is this connected? And we have a long history that's replete in the last, 25 years since 2001 of the official narrative on all of these, you know, being, we need to protect us and we need to protect our allies. But what's ended up happening is greater amounts of instability and greater amounts of violence. And we should just step back. And I think we're seeing this actually with Gen Z. Gen Z now is overwhelmingly questioning these narratives and coming out to a different conclusion. And I think it's good. We should be asking ourselves, is the foreign policy efforts that we are supporting with our tax dollars, are they actually leading to more violence or not?
Well, yes, the United States does support ISIS. We have for a very long time when we needed them in Syria, since at least the Obama administration, if not before. So that's a yes. We do support ISIS. So I guess it would be hypocritical for us to circle back. But let's talk about the Pope's response about this, because what's interesting is that, and maybe this is valid, Israeli supporters say, hey, everyone's disproportionately worried about Gaza. You should be worried about other violence too in the world. Why do you only care when Jews do the violence? Okay, fair enough, because this is horrible. And it's not getting the attention that it needs. The Pope tweets plenty about Gaza, but on this matter, He only issued a message of deep sorrow through the Vatican and not even personally. So I guess I'm asking, how do we shift our focus? Because this is equally awful. And do you think that it is because we are here in the West? There's a famous Morrissey quote that like the rest of the world could fall off the cliff and America wouldn't know. That doesn't seem the case because we are focused on Gaza. So why do you think we have this disproportionate, outrage right now? It should be fairly equal, or do we just not even have it as humans? What do you think?
Well, I actually think it's a little bit more simple. I want to avoid the tribalism between sides because, frankly, I think most people and most Americans, especially young people nowadays, they're questioning everything. every narrative from Epstein to weapons of mass destruction, they've been raised in this milieu where they've seen through it all, and they're all the hypotheses that we just accepted at face value. We are rightfully second guessing and going back to the drawing board. So I think it's much simpler. I think it's actually what unites us should just be this question is instead of is this moral or is this immoral, is does this benefit us? And should we do it? I mean, so okay. Let me give you a perfect example. My dad used to say when I was a kid, he would say, "If you're young and you're not liberal, you have no heart, and if you're old and you're not conservative, you have no brain." Right? So what I'm witnessing is young Gen Z, overwhelmingly conservative among young men. What it takes to be a young male conservative now is to overcome that natural impulse to be all about caring for the weak and disenfranchised, and seeing through that propaganda and saying, okay, just because I have people at the southern border that need my help does not necessarily mean it's my moral responsibility to help them. And so I think what's happening is we should just say, look, rather than deciding this question, because frankly, I think so many people, you need a PhD level education to decipher whether or not Dave Smith or Dennis Prager is right on this issue. Many people are just like, let's solve a more practical question of when is this my moral responsibility? And two, is it actually doing more good than we say it is? Like, I'm not going to blow smoke and say that Islam is our friend either, right? Like, Islam is not Christian and neither is Judaism, right? And so I think we should get back to our order of loves. J.D. Vance got in trouble, a year ago, when he said, I should love my neighbor more than my foreigner at the southern border. And so I think it's a very practical question we should get back to. And I found it's very interesting that the conservatives who are against the, the government's handouts and, interventionist policies of the military state, or excuse me, the state here with welfare, are the ones that are behind very big government abroad. And so I just think that we should get back to funding, taking care of our interests at home, protecting babies, and maybe we shouldn't stop killing a million babies here in the womb before we start caring about foreign babies abroad.
AJ Hurley, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it begs the question, are Christians in these regions sort of being left to fend for themselves? You brought up, Judaism, you brought up Islam. We fund Al-Qaeda, for crying out loud, that are killing Christians. So we're sending billions of dollars to these regions, and there doesn't seem to be defending or helping Christians in any way. It seems to be doing the opposite, which is slaughtering them. But that's a deeper.
You can't ask these questions and have these perspectives anymore, because you get caught in a very tribalistic war of people trying to cancel you. And I just think that at the end of the day, we should be all about humanity and loving our neighbor rather than partisan politics.
Yeah. AJ, great to see you. Thank you so much for this perspective.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate you.
You bet.
And this is a story we should continue to follow. There are people missing. There are people enslaved. There are young boys who were taken. Where'd they go? Who's going to find them? So we're going to continue to stay on this because, we can't have myopic vision, if these massacres are happening right on our watch. So there was a great comment in our Rumble chat saying, why do they want to live stream a Holocaust? Why do we have to watch this, right? Why is this happening? What is the purpose of our gaze here? So that's a great question. So we'll stay on it.
Why does who? Can you explain that?
Why is the media, why does our government want us to be watching this right now? You know?
Do they want us to be watching? They want it to, it seems like they want to whitewash it and ignore it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Israel's actively trying to suppress any images or video coming out on this.
I mean, we're independent media. We've got, huge audience on Rumble who's watching us now, tens of thousands of people over there, and 7,000 or 8,000 on YouTube, much less on YouTube. But nevertheless, very few. I mean, independent media is really the only information source where you're getting information about what the hell's actually happening in Gaza.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and begrudgingly so on the part of the mainstream media. But again, the fact that these politicians continue to say this is fine, it's going to keep happening, Israel's going to finish the job. The question, I think the intention behind this Rumbler was, why are they making us watch this?
Yeah. No, maybe end it so we don't have to watch it anymore and actually create peace, and so these people don't have to starve to death. Anyway, we've got more news to get to here on your Tuesday. We are going to do that. We're going to talk about how the COVID vaccine saved fewer lives, according to a new report. Okay, we're going to dive deeper into that. At first, I do want to say, Collins gang. No, I'm sorry. I was just looking at some chats here, but I just want to say thank you because, we've seen a big migration to the free speech platform that is Rumble. Obviously, YouTube suppression is real. It is severe. So we've seen many, many thousands of you starting to migrate over to Rumble over the past year or so. So thank you so much. And it's crazy to actually watch the live stream now because way more of you watch us on Rumble now than ever before. So thank you guys. I really appreciate that. Okay, we're going to get to more news here in a second. But first, we all know the cost of war. Cities being leveled, families shattered, lives lost. But here's what's not being said loud enough right now. War can wipe out your financial future as well. Right now, the U.S. is on a dangerous path. We're talking record spending, endless global conflict, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Iran, all of it. I was speaking to my mother-in-law today. She's like, I do not want my cash sitting in American dollars right now. I want to move it, and I want to start investing it smartly. And so we had a great discussion about real estate and precious metals, and she's also a big advocate of buying silver and gold, and which she does as well. The U.S. debt accelerated right now. You see President Trump and Jerome Powell going head-to-head over the U.S. dollar and the future of that. That's why we're big advocates of investing in gold and silver, making sure that at least a portion of your portfolio is in precious metals. And our friends over at Lear Capital can help you do that. They're a fantastic American company. There's no obligation. Just get on the phone with them and have a conversation with them. Education is power, right? So just pick up the phone, dial the 800 number. They have a team that's dedicated for our show, okay? 1-800-613-3557. Just call them and say, hey, I've got maybe $1,000 in savings. I've got whatever you have. Maybe you have an old IRA that you want to roll over. You can do that as well. An old 401k that's just been sitting there idle in the stock market and you want to roll it over so you have checkbook control of your future. Talk to them about it. They can do that for you and roll it over to a self-directed IRA. They're a fantastic team. You've heard me talk about them for years. It's because I use them. And that's how we invest in gold and silver in our family. You can visit the website as well, learredacted.com, or just call their 800 number, 1-800-613-3557. Talk to them. Get on the phone with them and how you can get up to $15,000 in free bonus metals with a qualified purchase. So our friends over at learredacted.com.
Well, a new study Sorry, let me take that again. Take two. A new study claims that the COVID vaccine saved mostly elderly people and very few young people under the age of 45. Now, here's the story, so you can read it for yourself. Now, the media picked this up with headlines saying that the COVID vaccine saved fewer lives than expected. That's not really what the study said, and I'm reporting this today so that we can all keep in mind to be careful when we see these kinds of studies, because every time we see these media headlines or studies about how many lives the vaccine saved, they are a canard, and here is why. And I'm not saying one way or the other about the COVID vaccine. I'm telling you how to read these studies, because this is not immediately obvious if you haven't been studying this for 5 years. Now, these studies always use this number of lives saved based on math models, not hard real world data, which we now can observe. So these models always estimate how many people would have otherwise died without the vaccine, and then credit the vaccine for the difference. That is a very shaky foundation to begin with, and I'm going to show you why. But here, this study is showing you that it estimates how many people would have died otherwise had we not had the vaccination program, and they base that on infection rate mortality. They don't base this on real world data, meaning how many people were dying before the vaccine, which is readily available. They could use that, but they don't take that into account, and they don't issue death corrections, which the government has done. Remember that our own government, the United States CDC, admitted to overcounting COVID deaths in several different places. We now know that many deaths were reported as COVID deaths where people did actually not die of COVID. They died with COVID of other things. So even the original death counts, we can't trust because our government has walked that back. So how can we build any claim on that when we don't even have real answers about COVID deaths from prior vaccination program?
I mean, it seems like it undermines the entire course parts of the story.
Right. And so I can write a paper too of math models, like Natalie should weigh this much, but she weighs this much, so it must be the milk or whatever. I mean, it's stupid, right?
Must be the ice cream at night.
Must be. That's you, honey.
Oh, that's
that does
me.
that. Yeah. So, okay, you have to remember that every time they say, oh, the vaccine saved a lot of lives, what they're using is math models, not real world data. No study that I have seen so far, and I read them all that come across my computer, use modeling, not real world data, and definitely not real world data that has been adjusted for what the CDC said was overcounted deaths. That's what you need to keep in mind. So, okay, even with these math models, this JAMA article says that most lives saved by the COVID vaccine were in elderly people. So take a look at how they claim here the lives saved. People between 0 and 19 years of age, 299 lives saved. They're saying based on math models. So very few lives under the age of 30. The majority of it in the 60 to 69 group. But even by these, again, flawed math models, so few young people affected. Yet, if we're saying 299 people under the age of 99, compare that to the actual rate of myocarditis in real world data, which we do have. The CDC reported, and again, the CDC collects very badly vaccine injury. They don't do it well at all. But even with this data, we have confirmed 1,200 cases in young people under the age of 29. That equates to roughly 40 cases per million second doses in males. Other studies have corroborated that. So 299 lives saved, right, versus 1,200 cases of myocarditis these kids have to now continue to be treated for. Some of them very serious, requiring lasting treatment and hospitalization. So that's just one I'm just talking about myocarditis. We could look at other things, that other vaccine side effects, which we have reported and are well documented.
Well, PJ Pickett in our Rumble chat says, do a story about cancer statistics in the last 4.5 years since the vax debuted.
I
Have
could
they
do
increased?
that, right? Yeah, I mean, we could do that. We could compare increased rates of cancer with 299 lives saved in each of these. We could do that, right? Nobody will. This is me saying this is not a scientific study. I'm saying this is worthy of looking at because we've seen so many adverse effects, way more than 299 for these lives, these mathematical life saves. We can't put a fine point on it. We can't say that kid over there was saved and this. We can't do that because they're theoretical.
Well, also, I love to.
Well, and also
go ahead, David.
Well, I was going to say it's also theoretical because we know that the PCRE tests were not accurate to even tell if people had COVID. So some of these people that they say didn't. So it's 100% only the vaccine because they weren't getting vaccinated for COVID.
You're making a good point because because the math models are based on infection rate data. So they are estimating that, let's say 100 people had COVID and they're saying, well, 20% of them would have died, right? But we don't even know those infection numbers because there was such a high fail rate of the PCR test. So we're standing on shaky ground here, you guys.
Well, yeah, even more so the fact that the study itself, right out of the study was supported by a grant from the Commonwealth Fund and the Global Burden of Disease Collaborative Network. So they got a lot of money for these grants from those two places. Mm-hmm. The Commonwealth Fund is WHO aligned, and it often has very pro-vaccine, WHO aligned stances. So they're giving out money, basically supporting this idea. Also, the Global Burden of Disease Collaborative Network is affiliated with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So, which is itself funded by these guys.
So another thing, David makes a great point, is they're going off of infection rates and saying that the COVID vaccine saved lives, and we're using that to say who would have died from infection. But we now know the COVID vaccine was not designed nor tested to prevent infection. Full stop. It was not for that, and it was not tested for that. So how can they say
stop the spread?
That it just didn't do that, right? It was never intended to do that. It was not tested to do that. That was never in the original clinical trials. So how can they say these people would have died by not getting infected when the vaccine never was supposed to stop infection? So again, this is crazy science. But the media picks up on it to remind you, we made you get vaccinated and that's why. Not, again, based on math models, not real world data, which we have. They're using flawed and uncorrected death models and not actual death data. So again, the result is a theoretical estimate of lives saved built on sand, not solid evidence. But I guess some people will use these links and send it around and say, see, good thing we did this.
Glad we got it.
Right, exactly that. So anyhow, I needed to point this out to you.
I would just always follow the money. Sorry to go off on a tangent about who funds this and who this study has grants from these organizations that are WHO and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation adjacent organizations who get their funding from it. So it's like a pro-sugar study being done by Coca-Cola, in my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
No?
Yes, you make a great point that there is what do we call this? A bias.
Yes, there's a bias.
A monetary bias here. Yeah.
Oh, I see. And so it's pro-vaccine, so we should get more of these things as we head. By the way, this study comes out as we're going to start to head into flu season. We're going to start to, you're going to start to see all the NFL football ads that are with what's his name, Kelsey.
Oh, get an RSV shot.
Yeah, get 2 shots. I went and got 2 shots today. You can get your flu shot and your COVID shot on your one arm, And what's his name, the singer? And also
stop flexing for us. Magic Johnson.
Yeah, that's a big arm.
And it's also Rich, that they're what was the point I was going to make? That they're saying that.
He got so distracted by your bicep that he can't.
It's totally understandable. Yeah, I could see how it would be. Maddie K in our chat says Redacted is one of my favorite shows. Yet when I try to comment, or I can't, or I'm shadow banned. It happens all the time. I'm so glad to see so many awakened ones who knows what's going on. Maddie, we can see your chat here, so I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know, YouTube censors stuff. I don't know what they censor, if you post links, if you do other stuff like that, if you use swear words or stuff. I don't know. YouTube does auto censoring of comments. So just so you're aware of that. Go ahead, David G. Did you remember?
Yeah, I figured. I remembered. So it's it's equivalent of these YouTubers that are given product or money to review an item to help you make a better purchase. If you're given money or you're given the product, you're almost required to say something positive and find only the data that supports your side. So it's not scientific at all.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good point.
All right.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about why President Trump's drone strike record has almost exceeded President Biden's drone strike record in 4 years. President Trump has almost surpassed it in 6 months. Why are we doing this? Do we have to always be droning someone? Why is that? Because I thought that, he promised peace. We're going to take a look at that in a second. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing. What if you could delay your next mortgage payment or two? That's right. Imagine putting those payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room. It is possible if you call American Financing today. So if you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bill piling up, well, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting those expenses on credit cards, and there just doesn't seem to be a way out. That's why you need to call American Financing, because you can get to a point where you can't make those payments, but their salary-based mortgage consultants can help homeowners like you restructure their loan and consolidate your debt, all without upfront fees. They're saving their customers an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 per year raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it's something that you should learn for yourself because it could save you and your budget this summer. And in fact, again, leveraging your assets is how people build wealth. It's not hoarding. It's not stocking up. It's, again, Clayton always says, savers are losers. So learn this for yourself. Learn how people build wealth instead of dig into debt. Call them at 866-890-8434 today, or go to americanfinancing.net/redacted. One more time, that's americanfinancing.net/redacted. We got a fly in the studio. It is really bugging me, pun intended.
Bugging you? You know what we've had here in Colorado? We've had it's the highest dew point and humidity that I think they've had in like record keeping history. Mm-hmm. Was telling me that today. So, I don't know. It's like, flies are breeding. There's humidity in Colorado, which they don't have any humidity. Like the whole reason we moved here is because no humidity. And now there's flies everywhere.
What's happening?
What's going on?
What's happening here? So there's, we have lights in the studio, and this fly really likes the light behind my camera, and I'm having a hard time not staring at it. So I apologize for that. Let me just get my head on straight.
Was it Mike Pence that had the fly landing on his face?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got really worried that it'll stick to my makeup or something.
Fly, if you come on, I'm over here. I don't wear makeup, so come on, you can land on me and then I'll flick you off. I'll smack you.
Or we'll have one of those things where it sticks to my makeup and Clayton will slap me in the face.
I have the electric one upstairs.
Yeah,
so just
the
whack
zapper.
you. Yeah, whack you right in the face.
Okay. Let me do a little stretch. Okay, here's what I want to talk about. President Trump promised to end the forever wars, but in just 6 months, he has nearly matched President Biden's strike total data for the entire 4 years that Biden was in office. Now, this is from The Telegraph. They analyzed data from ACLED, which is the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data. They found, now look at this chart, you guys. We thought President Trump would end these forever wars. He has said so. He called out President Biden for launching these strikes. So what's going on here? Why so few during the Biden administration, and then we're ramping it up? So if you take a look, President Biden in 4 years launched 555 airstrikes. Now, in just 6 months, President Trump has launched 529. So he hasn't beat Biden yet, but he's on track to quadruple him, if not more than that. Now, we know that the Biden administration continued to target Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Somalia. And of course, President Trump said, I will see those drone strikes and I will raise you, Iran. And who else? Yeah, Iran. We have a lot on the Houthis, but that's Yemen. So we already had that one covered. None of this data includes airstrikes on Russia that the U.S. has supported Ukraine to do with our weapons and money. Probably it should, because then President Biden would have a higher score, but so would President Trump to the same degree. Now, I remind you that on Inauguration Day, President Trump said that the U.S. would now, quote, measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars we end, and perhaps more importantly, by the wars we never get into. So it feels a little like that promise is starting to ring hollow as the war with Russia drags on and the war in Gaza reaches new levels of devastation. So how are we supposed to take this? I mean, again, if we could just put that chart back up. What are we doing, guys? I think Ann Coulter said when President Trump started his strikes on the Houthis, why do we have to do this? Is there something in the Constitution that says that we have to constantly be bombing someone somewhere? I don't know, Clayton, how do you feel looking at this chart?
It's deeply disturbing, but it's also supportive of the military-industrial complex, of course. We saw in the fall before President Trump took office, all of those drones over the east coast of the United States. And we learned that it was really a psychological operation on the part of the Biden administration to really ramp up the amount of spending on drone production in the United States and the military-industrial complex. So they just handed it off. And that's going to continue. It's going to ramp up significantly over the next couple of months and into the next couple of years as this new military budget takes hold. So get ready to see more of it. And they'll say, hey, it's great for the military-industrial complex. And it's also great because American soldiers then don't need to die in harm's way. We can just bomb people from Oklahoma. They can sit in Oklahoma with a joystick and a button, and we can launch these drones.
Okay. I mean, I don't feel motivated to keep that going. There's nothing there where I'm like, yeah, let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who looks at this chart and is like, had to be done? Had to be done. I want to know if from our chat, if anybody feels that way.
So let's say we did like stop bombing the Houthis. This is completely stopped. What would happen? Like what is it that we're preventing in doing that? You know, like
supposedly they're bombing ships coming in, bringing weapons into Israel. So I mean, actually, yes. You know, they're fighting against Israel. So,
but we've been bombing them for a good 8 years, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they announced today, the Houthis came out and announced today that anyone that's supporting Israel, any of these ships, any companies that are supporting Israel that are coming through this area, we will bomb. That was their announcement today, the Houthis. So they're very, very open about that specifically. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know what you think of this. If President Trump is going to pull that back, or if that's just going to be, the way it is from now on, just let me know. All right. Well, before we let you go for the day, we want to thank you for being here, but we want to tell you about our friends over at Sculpt Nation, because if you're over 40 and you notice your skin doesn't bounce back like it used to, and your joints sound a little bubbly when you sit and stand, or morning stiffness is there, well, here's what's actually happening. After the age of 30, your body produces 1% to 2% less collagen every single year. So by 60, you've lost half of your natural supply. It's not just aging, it's a collagen shortage. That's why thousands are turning to Sculpt Nation's multi-collagen. Unlike typical collagen that only gives you one type, this has 3 essential types that your body needs from grass-fed cows, chicken, and wild-caught fish. Users are reporting firmer skin in just weeks, especially in those areas that tend to sag. You know what I'm talking about. Many say their hairdressers are even asking what they're doing different because their hair looks thicker and fuller. And those achy, creaky joints, they're moving smoother and easier. Plus, it dissolves completely. No clumps, no taste, no grit. Just pure collagen with added hyaluronic acid, for extra joint support and skin hydration. So you can mix it in your coffee, your smoothie, whatever, just water. So right now, Sculpt Nation is offering listeners up to 57% of their multi-collagen plus a full 365-day money-back guarantee. That's an entire year to try it risk-free, but this special pricing ends soon. So go to sculptnation.com/redacted to get your multi-collagen today. Once again, that's sculptnation.com/redacted, sculptnation.com/redacted.
Frank Rizzo in our chat says, sagging past my knees. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
I just
Frank.
want to throw out that at my age, I'm happy actually to wake up with some morning stiffness.
Okay.
So,
I
don't get it.
So is she.
It took me a while to get that one.
Linda Cezanne says, love you, Team Redacted. Please keep telling truth to power. Yes. Yes, and by the way, through our summer schedule, we'll be back to our post Labor Day schedule when people aren't traveling and everything's kind of crazy, and everyone's on the road and out at parks and camps and everything like that. During the summer, we'll be back to our normal full schedule following Labor Day. I want to see if we have any other Rumble chats here that I can pull up. So in fact, it was Charlie Kirk that did say that about the,
He said it.
Yes,
and I'm wondering, I was like, okay, I'll listen. Is this propaganda? Let's see what's what.
JFO1212 says Clayton voted for Kamala. That's a good one.
Did you, honey?
Oh my God. Could you imagine? John Spence says, thank you guys. Been missing you guys. Yeah, we're live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during the summer, and then we'll be back to our normal schedule post Labor Day. Let's see. Anybody else want to chat? Any other comments here that we missed? David, Philip, any comments? Any thoughts? Just want to make sure I'm set here.
You're all set. All right. Hey, yesterday our son got a driver permit. This is the first child in our house to have this new skill of driving a vehicle. It's a bit terrifying.
How's he doing? Is he doing good?
He's doing good. Yeah. I mean, he's only just around the neighborhood a little bit to the grocery store, no highway driving or anything, but that's quite a milestone. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Quite the milestone.
Has he driven the big one yet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's driven my truck. Absolutely. Awesome. Chris Saar says, I can't afford Rumble. Rumble is free, and so is YouTube. Both of them are free.
Philip was about to tell us that today's his daughter's 19th birthday.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's my daughter's 19th birthday, and I tried teaching her. She still doesn't have her driver's license. I tried teaching her to drive in my 4Runner, and it was too big for her, and I'm way too intense, so she opted out of me teaching her to drive because I make her nervous.
She said no.
You're too intense. Can you give me an example of your intensity behind the wheel?
I know.
I want to see this.
Well, I mean, I'm always like even keeled about it, but I would just I'd be like, okay, you need to get over. You need to get over. You need to get over. And just like, and apparently she just, I don't know, I'm just too intense. I'm actually really more intense than I seem on here, just because I'm not doing anything here. But
okay,
I tell you, I'm pretty intense.
Well, I could see archers. Intense life.
Pretty level-headed, but I could see the fire in your belly, for sure. And I get that way too. Like I'm like, okay, please, you need to not. I've been trying to really be calm about it because that's how my father was when he was teaching me. He was just calm, and it was very soothing, and he was calm about it. And that's how I'm trying to be with my son. I'm just like, okay, in preparation of that turn up there, make sure you're moving over to this lane. Always checking your blind spot because you can never rely on mirrors. Like just double check your blind. I'm just trying to be calm about it because
like he did
there's nothing worse than being
like a pretty jerky stop, and I was like, okay, we'll work on that. We're gonna work on that.
Yeah, we're gonna work on.
You'll get to learn the.
Those brakes.
Maybe I'll send my daughter. Maybe I'll send my daughter out to you guys for the rest of the summer, and you can teach her to drive, and then she can come back with her license.
They'll call me she'll call me intense, and then I'll feel terrible.
Do you guys ever see that video?
I feel like I can do this.
That dad is with his kid, and they're pulling up behind a cop car, and he's like, brake, 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 brake. And the kid slams on the brake at the last minute before we're in a cop vehicle.
No.
Oh my God.
It's pretty funny.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'm going to get all the memes now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. But let's see. Well, Sean Ryder says, wait, what are your sources on kids being sniped in the head? $2 super chat, Sean. Really? Sean, I mean, there's sources? You're asking Max Blumenthal for sources? And the IDF has even admitted this. So there's plenty of sources about using babies and children as target practice in Gaza.
Oh, okay.
Well, that predates the October 7th.
Yes, it does.
Oh, yeah, that's long. Sean, but you know that. But just, you can look that up. I know he's not being rude about it. He's just asking, maybe this is new information to Sean. He's like, wait a second, what are your sources? Kids being sniped? You didn't hear about this? Oh, it's, if you're watching like mainstream media, you won't see it, but you have to actually look for the information that even the IDF itself has admitted to. And IDF soldiers that can't even sleep at night because they have nightmares of shooting kids in the head.
Well, the Obama administration adopted the policy that any male over the age of 14 was a possible militant, so therefore acceptable to kill. That's been happening for a long time.
All fanboys must die, and the chat says they're body cam videos of this. Yes, and I've seen the videos. You don't want to watch them. They're absolutely awful, but yes, there are body cam videos of this. For years, this has been happening.
There's videos of them doing it and laughing. Again, predates October 7th, long time ago.
Right.
Well, Sam Dejani, thank you for your $125 super chat. Says, U.S. to lead with compassion, build safe zones for innocent civilians. Don't let them be used as leverage. Protect lives, end suffering, show real leadership. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it on this Tuesday. We'll be back here tomorrow live at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe. Hug your loved ones. And don't let stuff sag too deeply. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone.